What's this turn? Indicator left, down the slope. What a shot. What a shot. Is it? Oh, would you believe that? Rory McIlroy. What a round of golf. It's one outside the Augusta course record. Here it comes. Oh my goodness. This is way more aggressive than I anticipated. Oh, man! What a shot! I'd say that's pretty good. Whoa!
Welcome, Golf DFS fans, to the Putting for Dough show, the only show that chooses to clash with probably the biggest game in the Champions League this season, Man City and Real Madrid, on a Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. Primetime spot. Unfortunately, we're missing one of our primetime members, Jack. Mark's attending a conference, so he says, but we know where he is. He's in Liverpool, probably enjoying the Eurovision semi-finals that are currently going on.
Yeah, he probably is. Having a little dance, a little boogie away. I hope you enjoy, Mark. Just don't clog up our WhatsApp group with Eurovision talk, because I don't give a toss.
This conveniently, this conference conveniently clashed, and I wouldn't have known it was on had my dodgy box, legitimate box, had been working. BT Sport, obviously not reliable.
Or Nick, maybe Mark is trying your trick and just not turning up to try and win the podcast host league.
Maybe, but if anything, over the last couple of weeks, I've proved that just isn't working anymore. So you turn up to work and to see the results nowadays, it seems, because you cleaned up again, Jack.
I did. Wasn't really close. I felt quite confident going into Saturday, to be honest. We had quite a lot of the same players anyway, I think, Nick. I think there was only two different. I think you had Cantlay and Taylor Moore. And I can't even remember the other two I had, but I know we both had Adam Scott, and I think we both had Victor Hovland in that lineup as well. Victor Hovland done us no favours on the Sunday, but Adam Scott was a bit of a trooper. He was really low owned, actually. I thought he'd come in a lot higher owned, not just our podcast host league, but across the board in cash. I thought he'd come in a lot higher owned than what he did. But he was a trooper for me in cash, and yeah, I had a little bit of a sweat going into sort of Saturday evening. But I mentioned to you it was kind of up and down because it was all on the positioning points, and it just didn't really go my way on the Sunday. I had Victor Hovland, I had Tagala and Cam Young, and they all just decided to shut up shop early, really, and not really do anything. So that was disappointing. Still made a lot of profit, so I can't complain. But it would have. I thought I was going to get close last week. Didn't quite materialise, but we'll go again. Good profit, as I say. And, well, we're on to this week, which we'll get onto in a minute. But, yeah, it wasn't a bad week. Xander gave me a sweat on the bet in front. I thought he was going to win, and then he had an almighty collapse on the back nine. That is very easy to do at Quail Hollow. Love that golf course. I really do love that golf course. I'm glad Wyndham Clark won. Bit disappointed that I wasn't on him because he's been a regular within my core. Every week, and the one week I went off of him, he goes and wins. So I was a little bit disappointed, but he has been a regular for me in cause. Hope people were on him. We got a lot of nice comments again last week about the newsletter as well. my core went 3-3. Mark's cut makers went 4-4. And I know Danny on Twitter used a lot of what we said on the show and the newsletter. And I think he come fourth in a contest on FanDuel, which won him like 150 quid. So I'm really happy for that. It's great to see people using the information that we give, and I'm really happy to see that. That's great stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Last week I pulled it back on the double ups. The week before I got a 5 of 6 through, and that's the first week where I've had a 5 of 6 through and not cashed on the double ups. But that was because I just faded the guys at the top, Ram, and I can't recall who the other fade was from that event.
But,
yeah, that's the one. So that didn't come in, but made up for it last week. But again, went quite light. Will likely go very light again this week before I attack next week. But yeah, I'm with you. Quail Hollow, really, really nice course. Well set up. Probably could host a major. Like that kind of standard.
Yeah, it has hosted majors before.
Yeah, but like literally, like what I mean by could host a major is if one of the upcoming majors said, "Do you know what? We're going to switch to Quail Hollow," like it would be ready like that. That's the quality of the course. It's literally major ready. So, it was a really good week. Some good golf, and well done again, Jack, for extending your lead at the top of the at the top of the league. The show league. I don't even know what we call it anymore.
Well, it's just the podcast host league, but
mostly that's the one.
I got a funny feeling one of you two might get back this week just because of the event. I really do not like this event, and I did put a little image up on Twitter earlier of what I saved it as last year. It's like,
I did see that.
Like this event's crap, basically. And I really do remember it from last year. It was like 27 under, just stupid. I think the cut was like 7 under last year. It was stupid. I hate this is the type of golf course I hate. But yeah, we've got to deal with it. We're going to deal with it. There's some nice players. We've had a lot of withdrawals already, from what I've seen so far today. But there's some nice players within this field. I don't think this field's as bad as what the Mexico Open field was, for example.
Oh.
It's not that bad. So we have got some nice players playing here. But we'll get through it, and then we have got a big one next week, big show. We got Kurt coming on from Run Pure Sports. That's still happening, which is good. And I think Mark's trying to line something up with DK. I need to have a bit more of a chat with him. I don't know what he's done there, but
been sliding into some DMs is what Mark's been doing.
Yeah, we might have something special going on next week for that. So keep your eyes and ears, about you, basically. So yeah, we've got some good, cool stuff coming up. I really am looking forward to next week, though. The major. Let's get this event out of the way and all steam ahead, basically. Full steam ahead. Sorry.
You mentioned in the chat and I think on Twitter as well, Jack, that there was a couple of things you wanted to get off your chest.
You want me to start early?
I'll open the floor up to you at this stage because I've been suffering from a bank holiday cold and it's got on my throat. I can't talk too long because it just goes. So the floor is yours.
Okay. So the walk and talk. I know why people like it, but as a avid viewer of golf who watches golf every week, and every chance he gets, the first thing I put on TV is golf. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And if I knew the golfers that were doing it before the event started, I would fade them in DFS and betting. You saw it at the Masters. I didn't really go into it at the Masters, but it infuriated me at the Masters because I had Rory and JT in lineups, and they both done it. They both missed the cut. and it infuriated me more than what it did last week. It infuriated me more at the Masters because the Masters is a major. You should be concentrating on your golf. You shouldn't be doing all this crap. There's no need to do that at a major. You should be concentrating on your golf. Tiger Woods would never have done that in his prime. Tiger Woods wouldn't even do it now. Like, it's that. I don't think John Rahm would do it. I've never seen John Rahm do it. I know John Rahm went on the camera after his round at the RBC Heritage. Totally different thing. I don't mind that. I'm quite happy for the golfers to go and do that. I don't want them doing it on the golf course when they should be concentrating. And then last week at the Wells Fargo, Kevin Streelman, I didn't play him, but he kind of got himself into contention a little bit, or I think it was on the Friday. And then I see him walking up the fairway doing that walk and talk, and I put a tweet out. I was like, "Oh my god!" He's just cursed himself. The next shot he hits is the worst duff chip shot I've ever seen in my life, and it nearly rolls into the water. Like it's the easiest hole on the golf course. You should be birdieing that hole that he was on, and it nearly rolls in. Like, he makes a par, but like the curse of it, like, it's just, I hate it. Just give me more. If you want to get more insight and things like that, give me more of like the player caddy talk. I don't mind that as such. Right? Just get the mic a bit closer to the caddy and the player when they're having a chat about something. I don't mind that. I just don't want my golfers being distracted, talking to a commentator, telling them how the golf course is playing, blah, 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 blah. I don't need to know. Like, just constant. If I knew the golfers that were doing it before, I would full fade them in DFS.
Yeah. I've only seen it work once this year, which I think was Max Homer earlier in the year. But yeah, I'm with you. I think you could. I think what they lack is that kind of analysis in the actual booth. Sometimes I feel like what you're hearing from the golfers on the course, you could probably have. I mean, they have ex-golfers that actually are there commentating, and really good ex-golfers as well. Obviously, McGinley's there, you know. But like you said, I think there's enough microphones where it picks up the stuff between caddy and player. We hear that. You could have a bit of, like, for anyone that's an NFL fan, a bit of a Tony Romo style analysis actually in the booth, then saying, do you know what? This is what they'll be discussing about this shot, and this is why they're taking a little bit more time over it.
Yeah.
Like, and the reason that this, like, you know, sometimes you see a golfer take out a club and then he gives it a club back, takes another one out. A bit of analysis around that, why they've maybe changed club there, aiming for a certain part of the green. I think sometimes the stuff in the booth lacks that, and I do really like golf commentary, but maybe that's how they bridge the gap a little bit. Because I'm starting to. I didn't mind the walk and talks at first, but I'm starting to agree with you now that it. Do you know what? It irks me a little bit, like when you get a football game and as the managers come out before the second half, they interview a manager at the side of the pit. But that does me as well. Like, the game hasn't kicked back off again, but you shouldn't be talking to that manager at that point. Like, his focus is completely on the task at hand. That irks me as well.
As I say, the easiest example to use in it is Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods would never do that. Ever have done that. Like, I don't think Jack Nicklaus would have ever done it. I don't think Seve Ballesteros would have ever done that. Those guys were just zoned in. I don't think Nick Faldo would have ever done it. These guys are just zoned in, and like you say, there's some great golf commentators, but there's also some really bad ones. There is some really, really bad golf commentators. Sky do have quite a few of them.
You've got Faldo, when the Masters was on,
Yeah.
And he did like a segment where they were just interviewing him and talking about his experience at the Masters, and he literally spoke for about half an hour. I've never been a massive Nick Faldo fan, but after seeing that, I was like, wow, actually, there's a lot more to Nick Faldo than what I thought.
Yeah.
But you couldn't ask for a better golfing mind than someone like a Nick Faldo, giving more analysis on what the caddy and golfer will be talking about and what kind of different shots they could take and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think it just lacks that a little bit sometimes. And I don't know if because it lacks that from the booth, maybe that's why they've tried to introduce this walk and talk a little bit to try and get into the golfers' minds and what they're thinking about. But yeah.
I honestly hate it. And again, if I knew what golfers were doing it this week, because I guarantee a golfer does it this week, I would just fade them. I wouldn't play them in DFS.
Yeah, it's a shame that we don't know.
It is a shame. I wish we could find out. Get someone to find out. Yeah. I do believe golf needs changes. It's a different podcast for a different day, but I do believe golf needs changes in certain areas. But that is not it for me.
Yeah, fair. Was there anything else on your mind from this past week, Jack, or was it just talk?
No, I'm good. I'm all good, thank you, Nick.
Cool.
Cheers.
Let's get into this week's event then. So we've got the AT&T Byron Nelson, and do you know what I did earlier? I was out, went out for tea, and got chatting to the brother-in-law about Chat GPT, and got it to try and write me an article about the top 5 golfers in this field just based on strokes gained approach and strokes gained putting. So Chat GPT is the AI thing that's been introduced. People are using it to write assignments, blog posts, all stuff like that. And I asked it for the top 5 players in the field, and number 1 was Bryson DeChambeau. So clearly some work to be done there by the Chat GPT team. But yeah, we head to TPC Craig Ranch, a course that's hosted this event since 2021. Jack, do you want to tell us a little bit about this course?
Yeah, if I have to. Yeah, I will. As you can see, this is my least favourite golf course on the PGA Tour, and my least favourite event. But we're here, so we'll get on with it. It's a TPC Craig Ranch in McKinney, Texas, a Tom Weiskopf design in 2004. It is now a par 71. It was a par 72 last year, but hole 12, which was a par 5 last year, has now been converted into a par 4 because the eagle rate on it last year as a par 5 was absolutely ridiculous. Like, everyone was making eagle on it. Like, if you didn't make eagle, you were making birdie at worst. So they've converted it to a par 4, which has now made the par for the whole course a par 71. Not really too sure what that's going to do to the score. And to be fair, your average sort of winning score is about 25 under before that par changed. Maybe it knocks it down to about 22 under. I still think you're going to get into the 20s this week. It's a 7,468 yards. Water comes into play on 13 holes, but that water is basically a creek which runs around this golf course. Unfortunately, that creek will not offer much of a problem for the golfers. It's just there as a bit of a show. Again, it's not really going to scare them unless your ball is absolutely miles off of its target. You should not be finding that creek at all this week. The fairways here are Zoysia grass. The rough's Bermuda. The rough's non-existent. It really is non-existent here. And the greens are bent grass. Average winning scores, as I say, it's around 25 under. The average cut mark is about 4 under par. If it was like last year, I'm pretty sure it got up to about 7 under par last year, the cut mark here, which was one of the reasons I believe we done the show the next week and I lost my cool about the event. So as I do, again, in regards to the yardage, it might sound long, but it doesn't play long. This golf course features its usual array of par threes, par fours, and par fives. All the par fours are all the par fives are reachable in two, and they yielded around 12% of eagles in 2022. The course also features a drivable par four. If we need more scoring opportunities, they're all going to be making eagles on the par fives, but we need more scoring opportunities. So let's let them drive the par four. Outside of the weather, this course has got no defence at all. The wide, expansive fairways, very little rough. The bunkers are bland compared to other golf courses on the PGA Tour. They're not really going to test the golfers. Like you saw them at the Wells Fargo last week, the bunkers there were a real hazard and a real problem for the golfers. That's about as nice as things I can say about it, Nick. It's going to be a birdie fest. You need to be able to putt around here. We're going to get into the stats in a minute, but yeah, if you like birdie fest, if you like scores getting to 25 to 30 under, this is your week.
Yeah, I remember that blow up last year, but you're gonna have to be well behaved this year, Jack, because there can't be any blowing up on next week's show. Not while we've got guests on. Best behaviour. What are your key stats for this week then?
Yeah, I've got a fairly small model for the way I build normally. So I'm looking at birdies or better, strokes gained approach, proximity from 200 plus, strokes gained putting on bent grass, strokes gained on par fives, strokes gained total on easy golf courses, and strokes gained putting inside 10 feet. The comp courses I'm using are mainly this one, to be honest, and TPC Scottsdale. That's all I'm looking at.
Yeah, I've not much else, to be honest. Strokes gained approach, I've got the 200 plus bucket. I've got 175 to 200 in there as well. Strokes gained bent grass putting, 0 to 5 feet, 5 to 10 feet, birdies or better. Strokes gained par 5, very similar, very, very similar. Not much difference there. Not much off the not really. Well, no focus at all off the tee this week. Very little around the greens as well. Yeah, it's mainly a scoring week. This, I feel like I should probably throw fantasy points in there as well, which I've not. But I guess we're playing a form of fantasy, so probably should throw that in there. Let's have a look then at the field. Now it is a weaker field than what we've seen on some of these events in recent weeks. Understandable, as it's not an elevated one. So at the top, we've got overwhelmingly most expensive Scotty Scheffler at 11,900. Jordan Spieth has pulled out of the event, so that takes him out of the running. He was the second most expensive. We've then got Tyrrell Hatton at 10,100. I'm just going to go down the 9,000 range because we've not really got much to aim at the top there. So we've got Hideki Matsuyama at 9.8, Tom Kim at 9.6, Jason Day at 9.4, KH Lee, who's won this event the last 2 years, at 9.3, Adam Scott at 9.2, Siwoo Kim at 9.1, and Matt Kuchar at 9,000. Jack, talk me through your pick at the top, if you have a pick at the top.
Okay, this is really easy for me this week. I'm playing Scotty Scheffler in cash. I'll lock him in. Unsurprisingly, now Spieth has pulled out. Scotty is the number one player within my model. Green across the board, gaining strokes everywhere, tee to green, strokes gained on approach. Seems to have found a little bit with the putter as of late as well. Started to gain strokes with the putter. Good course history here. He's made the cut all 3 times he's been here in the last 3 years. 15th last year. Seems to be coming back into form a little bit, Scotty. Obviously had the 4th at the match play and then he come 10th at the Masters, and the last time we saw him he was 11th at the Heritage. This course for me will set up a little bit nicer for him. So yeah, I'll play him in cash. He's going to cut. He's the highest owned up. Actually, second highest owned projected wise within the range that we're talking about here. But I'll lock him in cash lineups this week. Scott Sheffield, as I say, unsurprisingly, he's the number one player in my model. That shouldn't really come as a surprise to anyone, to be honest. And then the other two, this is where I'm going to get a bit different. So I'm going to lock in Hideki and Tom Kim in GPP lineups. So we haven't seen. Why are you laughing?
Because they're the two players I have on my list as well.
So I'm going to lock them two in because the ownership is, well, fairly low within the range that we're talking about here. Hideki's got very good course history here. He was third here last year. He's made the cut every time he's been here. He was 16th in 2018 as well. He's 39th and 23rd in between those as well. 4 times. He's made the cut 4 times. We haven't seen him since the Masters. He's apparently had some, I don't think he's had surgery, but he's had some stuff done back in Japan on his neck to try and sort that out, that issue that he's been going on for a year. Gaining strokes across the board, mainly losing a little bit with the putter, but that's we know we've seen Hideki. He's not the best putter in the world, but he can get really hot some weeks, and when he gets hot, he normally goes and wins. What I did like to see from Hideki, even with that injury, his performances seem to be getting better and better. And that's like from when he first sort of complained about that injury. So I think he's probably going to be there or thereabouts come the end of the week, hopefully for us. So I'm going to lock him in. And Tom Kim, I'm going to lock in because this seems like a Tom Kim golf course to me. 23rd last week at the Wells Fargo Championship, which I think was fairly good. The Wells Fargo Championship, you've got to be long off the tee. Tom Kim's not the longest off the tee. So that didn't really suit him, to be fair. And he come 23rd there, like first time seeing it. I like to see that. He was 7th at Zurich. He missed the cut at the Heritage, but I don't think the Heritage really suits him. I mentioned it. I don't know if you were on the show, Nick, but I mentioned it that I think he has an issue with tree-lined fairways, like tree-lined golf courses. And that's what the Heritage is, because he missed the cut there and he missed the cut at Sony earlier in the year. And Sony's exactly the same as the Heritage. It's a tree-lined golf course. I just think there's something there with it. Stuff doesn't suit his eye. But Tom Kim seems to excel. He's the number one, actually, in strokes gained total over the last 32 rounds on easy golf courses. So I like that, to see that from him. And again, he's coming in fairly low owned. He played here last year, so he's seen this golf course before. He comes 17th last year as well. So I like to see that. All of the, like Tom Kim ranks 7th in my model. Hideki ranks 3rd in my model. So, all these guys up here I'm going to be playing and popping within my model. And then the other one I'm quite happy to go back to Adam Scott again. I like what we saw. Sorry, Nick.
I'm just going to sit back here. I'm just
I won't talk about it. I'll just say I'm quite happy to go back to Adam Scott again. And I'm also happy to play Matt Kuchar up in this range. I think I'm going to fade Jason Day. He's coming in really highly owned. Missed the cut last week at Wells Fargo as well. I think I'll just fade him. And I'm going to fade Tyrrell Hatton. This does not seem like a Tyrrell Hatton golf course to me. I could see him getting the right ump with this golf course when people are going absolutely bonkers, scoring 7-8 under each day. This doesn't seem like a Tyrrell Hatton golf course to me. I might be proven wrong, but he's never played this golf course before. That does worry me, because not because it's hard, it's just because I don't think he can get involved when it's a really high scoring event. I think Tyrrell excels on hard golf courses.
He's going to fume. He's going to hit the roof, because he's going to say it's a stupid course. It's too easy.
Yeah.
And probably similar comments to what we've had at other courses, where I think John Ram called one of the Hawaiian events, or the Sony, a putting contest. It's going to be something like that. Completely with you on the Scheffler pick if you're playing a cash lineup, but we've picked the same guys for very, very, very similar reasons. So my notes on Hideki I had last time we saw him was the Masters. Obviously used that time to rest and recover from whatever injury he's been suffering from. Decent form leading up to the Masters, third in this last year. So obviously this event's only hosted, this course has only hosted this event for the last 2 years, but you like to see a little bit of history here, I guess. I don't really like the field, so in GPP, I'm definitely targeting that low ownership, as I don't really like the chalk too much. So I have Matsuyama. Kim, again, similar reasons. I like the ownership as a leverage player there. 2 decent showings at the Zurich and Wells Fargo. Strong all-round game. Lot of strokes gained tee to green, which is obviously the metric that assesses everything from off the tee, approach, short game. Really good there. And my third from this top end was Adam Scott, with a caveat on Adam Scott. So what I wrote Adam Scott, and then in my notes, literally the very first note was don't like this range, because I don't know if I like this price point for him. Like I had no issue playing Adam Scott last week because he consistently makes cut after cut. I don't think he's missed a cut since the PGA last year. So
yeah, he's on some insane run.
Yeah, and I think a lot will, if you're going to pay at this price for a golfer, I think you'll see a lot that will gravitate to Jason Day. There'll be some bias there for KH Lee as a 2-time former winner. So I do think his ownership will be driven down, and he's never the sexy pick, Adam Scott. He's always the, if you could call him anything, he's a safe pick. He's a bit of a Sung Jae Im. He's a bit of a plodder kind of pick. Consistent golf game without ever, well, in recent years at least, without ever massively excelling in terms of results. And I think that's the only thing that's actually putting me off him a little bit. Like I said, last week I was quite happy to go to him because he was 7,300 at the Wells Fargo. You knew that you were going to get someone playing weekend golf.
Yeah.
But his actual finishes aren't all that inspiring when you break it down. Tied 5th at the Wells Fargo is nice, but then tied 31st, tied 39th, outright 31st, 71st, tied 31st, 65th, tied 21st. They're not inspiring finishes for a golfer that this week is priced at, what is he, 9,200. Mm-hmm. That said, the field isn't great, so I get that side of it. I'm happy to go back because I think you are going to get a golfer that's playing golf still on Saturday and Sunday. But I don't know if at this price point for him this week, if I'd rather take the chance and pay up that, just try and find the extra and go to Tom Kim or Hideki. Is my thought on it.
No, that's fair.
But yeah, I guess worrying that we like the same player there across the board, it seems. Let's have a look at the 8K range then, Jack. So Seamus Power, Mav McNeely, Taylor Montgomery. Benny Ann makes another appearance. He's played an awful lot of golf this year.
He has. Tom
Hoagie, Minwoo Lee, Aaron Wise, Stephen Jager, Adam Hadwin, C. Bez, and JJ Spawn.
Who's withdrawn?
As JJ Spawn, yes, he has. He's out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Let's break these 8Ks down then.
Yeah, not particularly fond of this range, to be honest with you. Which is probably a good thing because I won't need to come into it if I'm going to build the way I'm going to build this week. I think my favourite play would be Seamus Power. He's green across the board. Made the cut last week. The respectable finish last week, 18th, which was nice to see. played here last year and the year before, 17th and 9th, so it's clearly a golf course he likes. I think he prefers like higher scoring events himself as well, Seamus Power. He ranks 15th in my model this week, so he's not particularly high, but he's inside the top 20, which is nice to see. The highest one actually inside the top 20 in this range for me is Minwoo Lee, who ranks 4th in my model this week. Obviously, we don't see a lot of Minwoo Lee. We've seen him a couple of times this year. He popped at the Players' Championship dinner earlier in the year. So that was good to see. Losing on approach, though, which is a little bit of a worry for me. Never played this golf course before, and the last 2 times we've seen him on the PGA Tour, he's missed a cut. So, which was at the Heritage and the Masters. So I don't know how much you can have a go at him for that, but I find Minwoo Lee a bit of a boom or bust play. And if I'm going to play a boom or bust play in the 8K range, it's probably the guy that's coming back from mental health issues that he's been dealing with, and that's probably Aaron Wise, a really low ownership. I just know Aaron Wise can get it done. He's a previous winner of this event, obviously not on this golf course, but he has won the Byron Nelson before. He's a PGA Tour winner, as we've mentioned there, gained strokes across the board over the last 32 rounds, which is nice to see, but we haven't seen him since the match play, so I'm a little bit wary of that. But I think that's probably more of a GPP play. If I'm gonna try and play someone at low ownership, it'll be Aaron Wise. I love Jaeger Bombs. Always love Jaeger Bombs. He's pretty solid, decent, and since he's come back from injury, he's been pretty good as well. He's made 2 cuts on the trot, which is nice to see. 27th last week at Wells Fargo and 18th in Mexico. Mexico can be a high-scoring event, so we know he can get it done on those sort of style golf courses. But yeah, I'm not a massive fan of this 8K range, if I'm brutally honest, Nick.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one, because I've written one name down in this range. I really didn't like it at all. But the one name that I wrote down is the guy that you mentioned, which was Minwoo Lee. Like you said, the reservations are there. Missed his last 2 cuts. But I'm hoping that'll mean that people are off him a little bit, because his ownership was starting to creep up a little bit. Breaking it down, bent grass is his best putting surface. His approach play, like you said, not been fantastic recently, but really good around the greens. His short game might allow him to capitalise on the scoring a little bit if he can. You know, he's pretty long off the tee. He's decent off the tee. So, yeah, I mean, it consistently has been a good putter as well, Minwoo Lee. I think his last couple of events, I don't know if, I mean, he had the really good showing at the Players' Championship, and he just didn't put it together on the last day. He was right in contention with Scheffler, didn't put it together on the last day, dropped a couple of shots, finished tied 6th. I don't know if that just knocked him a little bit. We've not seen him since the IBC Heritage, so maybe just spent a little time regrouping. But yeah, I think he's shown enough this season in his golf that suggests that he is a good player. He does belong on the PGA Tour. So I will go back to the Minwoo Lee. Well, I've banged that drum previously. And it's purely from a perspective that I don't really like this range at all.
Yeah. The way I'm building, though, I won't have to go in that range this week.
No, and I think if I did, it would literally be the one player, but I don't think I'm the same. I think I'll probably be dipping into the range above, 2 dips for that matter, and then dipping into the range below this, which is the 7Ks.
I mean, for the listeners, if you wanted my order, it'd be Jaeger, Power, Minwoo Lee, and then Aaron Wise as a GPP play. But that'd be the order I'd play in that 8K range.
Let's have a look at the 7s then, Jack. So I'm not going to name these all, because I honestly don't think my throat could handle it. But yeah, just shout me out some of the guys that you like in this 7K range.
Yes, I love Scott Stallings at 7,700. Has played this event 4 times, played this golf course twice as well. He was 25th here last year and 3rd the year before that. Missed the cut the last time we saw him, but that was at the stupid Zurich Classic pairs event. So I can't even remember who he was paired with. I'm just going to write that off. I really don't care about that. That's a pairs event. But before that, he was 56th at the Heritage and 26th at the Masters, which was impressive to see. So I like to see that. Green across the board, pretty much, gaining strokes everywhere, losing a little bit on approach, but hopefully he can refine his irons this week. So, yep, I like Scott Stallings up here. I like Joseph Bramlett at 7,900 as well. Made his last 3 starts, made the cut each time. He was 10th out in Mexico, which was nice to see. Again, I'm not using Mexico as a comp course, but the score I'm using it as where the scoring can get high. So I know Joseph Bramlett can compete when stuff like that happens. Has played this event as well. Last 2 times he's been here. He was 51st last year and 7th the year before. So happy to go to Joseph Bramlett. Dylan Wu, this guy is just a trooper. I just play him all the time, and he just makes the cut every week. He gave me a little bit of a sweat last week, and then he just went nuts on the back 9. He shot about 5 under to get himself well above the cut mark. So that was nice to see. Did miss the cut here last year, the last time we saw him play this event, but I'm not really worried about that. I think he's a better golfer now. He's in better form. He's green across the ball, gaining strokes everywhere, losing a little bit with the putter, but we know what golfers are like. They can find the putting stroke, which is fine. Who else do I like in this range? I like, where is he? Nate Lashley at 7,200, I think he is.
Yes.
Is he 7-2 again?
Yes.
He is, yeah. So I like Nate Lashley there. 17th here last year. So he's played this golf. He missed the cut the year before, but he's a better golfer now, but in a better position for himself. He's last 3 times we've seen him, he's made the cut every time. He was 27th last week, 39th out in Mexico, and 31st. The Heritage, but that's kind of all we kind of need from him down at this price, really. If he can get sort of a top 30 finish, then that's great at 7,200. So I like him down here. Any more that I do like down? I mean, Jimmy Walker's in great form, but do I trust him on a golf course that can get to like 30 under? I think he's going to be quite popular, Jimmy Walker. So I'm probably going to stay away myself. But I see the case why people would want to do it. He has been playing very well recently, which is great to see as well, because I like Jimmy Walker. So it's nice to see. But I don't think I'm going to play him just because I'm a little bit wary that I don't think he can compete when the scoring gets ridiculously high like it's going to be here. But yeah, that's probably me rounded off in that range, Nick. I might play a bit of Patton Kaziri because I'm a bit of a rebel like that. There's some of these players that I just get involved into. Eric Cole, Aaron Rye, I'll probably go back to if I have to. I'm just reading off names now. Like another Brandon Wu's another one. Don't mind him. But yeah, that's kind of it for me in the 7K range.
Yeah, there's when I was looking through this range, the guys that I actually wrote down, it was all very boom or bust kind of stuff. Brandon Wu, prime example. Good showing at Mexico Open. In his last 7 events, he has had 2 top 20 finishes, and he was top 5 at Mexico. So I like that. Dylan Wu as well. Sam Stevens, risky one because he does miss a lot of cuts, but when he does play weekend golf, he puts up big scores. And he was right in contention at the Corrales and at Valero. Michael Kim, I'd be shocked if he's not in Mark's cut makers. He's made 9 of his last 10 cuts, 7th at Wells Fargo.
There is no cut makers this week, I'm afraid.
Well, I've no doubt he would have made it in if there was. He's made 9 of his last 10 cuts. 7th at Wells Fargo. Like I said, nothing massively pops out to me stat-wise, but he's quite steady across the board. Gained 3 strokes putting on his last 4 events that we have stats for. which is quite a big deal, really. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you look at consistency of putting across most golfers, gaining 3 strokes in 4 consecutive events that we've got the stats for, is actually some good going. He's only lost on total strokes in the one tournament that he actually missed the cut in the last 10. Everything else has been green, 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 which I like. Vincent Norman was another one. He comes into the event, 2 good showings, tied 18th at Mexico, tied 9th at Zurich, and had a look at his preferred putting surface, and it seems like bent grass is the one that he performs most on. So, Vincent Norman's down there in the low 7s as well. It's like you said, Jack, it is a bit boom or bust, this range. You're not going to see a lot of consistency when it comes to cuts or finishes. So I think anyone that you're playing in this range, anyone that you're playing this week outside of the top 5-6 golfers, I guess is a risk. But yeah, I mean, there's quite a few that I'm happy to take a punt on down here. Is there anyone below this range that you're going to play?
Yeah, there is at 6,300, and it's Mark's favourite, Trevor Werbelow. So gaining strokes pretty much everywhere, losing a little bit on the approach, but we know that he can get hot anyway. Has made his last 9 cuts. The only cut that he did miss, was at the Zurich Classic. Again, it's a pairs event. I don't know who he was paired with. He could have been paired with like the oldest guy ever. I don't know. It's a stupid event. Just ignore it. If you're looking at his singles record, he's made his last 9 cuts, Trevor Werbelow. I know Mark's a massive fan. And down there at 6.3, I mean, I don't think you can go far wrong with that. That's a good play, I think, down there at 6.3. Coming in really, really low owned. I mean, maybe people just don't go down there. Maybe just think, but he could, if you load him in with Scotty Scheffler, you could have a nice team, that's a lot of savings for you. So, yeah, he's probably my favourite down there. That's kind of it, really. I'm not really a massive fan of anyone else down in this range. How about you, Nick?
Yeah, Trevor Werbelow was on my list as well. I think the only other one that I'd seen down here that I liked, I didn't mind, was Kevin Chappell.
Yeah.
Pretty steady across the board, really. When you look at his underlying statistics, he's not really lost strokes anywhere in his game. His last 6 events, he's made 5 cuts. Nothing spectacular, but even the event he missed the cut wasn't an awful score. What he posted up there at the Zurich, just steady across the board. He had a run towards the back end of last year and early this year where it was just missed cut after missed cut after missed cut, and he was losing strokes on approach. He's losing strokes tee to green. He seems to have steadied the ship. So at 6,600, I don't mind going back there, and if nothing more, in his last 5 of his last 6 events, he's shown consistency in making the cut. So I don't mind that at 6,600. But I think it's between him and Trevor Werbelow. I don't think I'm going with anyone else down here.
The only other one that I'll just shout out is probably Chad Ramey. But Chad Ramey won the Corrales last year. Obviously, so we know he can get it done if it gets high scoring. He's made his last 2 cuts as well, so it's nice to see as well. But yeah, that's it for me.
It's a bad event when 80% of the golfers I've clicked on don't have a picture and are just a flag. I mention it every week, but it's worth a special mention this week. Let's have a go at building a lineup then, Jack. So
let's build a Scotty one.
Yeah, let's start off with a Scotty lineup. So
let's do that. Should we chuck Scotty in and then Werbelow at 6.3?
Yeah, let's see where we're at then. Werbelow 6.3. So we're jumping back up into the 7s here.
What's that give us on average? 7.9. That's not bad.
We could probably, we could work back up, I would say, into the 9s here if we're going to play some of the low 7s.
Yeah, so I like Nate Lashley.
Let's throw in Nate Lashley then.
7-2. That takes you up to 8-2. It's probably going to leave us in the range that we really don't want to be in.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Just having a look down here.
What if we put in
Dylan Wu? What, at 7?
Yeah. Dylan Wu takes us to 8. It's going to leave us kind of top of the 8s.
What happens if you stick in? Let's have a look at it now. Let's see if you stick in Adam Scott in this lineup at 9-2.
So if we throw Adam Scott, that's not bad actually. I thought we were left with a lot less than that, but
I'd play Joseph Brownlet with that in that personally.
That's not that bad.
I like that lineup.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
I like that lineup quite a lot. Should we try and build one with a couple of them 9K guys that we liked?
Yeah, so let's go. Let's go.
Decky
and Tom Kim, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to, what happens if you put I'm just shouting it out now. What happens if you put Werbelow in this lineup at 6-3? There's so much you can do if you play Werbelow in 8. So that takes you back to 8-1.
8-1. Let's throw Minwoo in.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that in this lineup.
Come back down to the 7s.
So it takes you down to 7-9 again. So I mean, if you wanted to, you could put Brown in, but I don't. We don't want him in this lineup as well. Stallings, I liked at 7-7.
Throw in Stallings then, which takes us to 8-2.
Maybe I will end up in this. Well, I like Jaeger. I really like Jaeger.
I was just going to say, you mentioned Jaeger, so we could throw him in.
I don't mind that lineup.
That's not bad either.
You can do a lot if you play Werbelow this week.
Let's see if we took out Minwoo. I'm just curious as to what we'd need to do if you were to go Adam Scott in this lineup. Takes you down to 7-4 with Stallings. Which,
so if you took out Minwoo and you took out Jaeger, I take it, yeah.
Yeah. So, and if you threw in Adam Scott, it takes us around to kind of like Eric Cole, Dylan Wu, which again isn't bad.
No, again, I like both of that. I like both that option. Either of those, Eric Cole, Dylan Wu. I'd probably play Dylan Wu because he's I think he's a trooper. But yeah, I like both those options.
Yeah. That's 2 not bad lineups, really, that we've built there. I wouldn't genuinely wouldn't mind either of those.
No, me
like
neither.
I think if you're gonna play Trevor Werbelow,
yep,
it's going to leave you with a lot of money on the table still. And we didn't really like the 8K range, so you don't have to dip into it. Because of that, you can afford some of them top guys. So I say top guys, the 9Ks plus, I guess. Yeah, don't mind that at all. Quite like that. Rounds us off for another week, Jack. Before we go, obviously anyone that is still with us or will be watching this after the Champions League, which has finished 1-1, I believe.
Yeah. Spoiler
on there. Yeah. Just a reminder that next week's show, we're going to have Kurt on from Run Pure Sports. Just talk Kurt up for us, Jack, because I know that you're a lot more familiar with his work than I am, especially from your EuroLeague exploits.
Yeah, so Kurt's a contributor to Run Pure Sports. He's on all their shows. He does their EuroLeague playbook. He's on their golf show, their golf betting side of it show. But yeah, he's a massive DFS player, very sort of high roller DFS player. Way out of our league, I would say, to be fair. But we are blessed to have him on, and it'd be great. It's just great to learn from people like that. I'm all about learning in DFS and learning different things, different ways to play, and I try and take bits and pieces off people, and that's how I try to. I refine my sort of process and the way I play. by taking bits and pieces off all these other guys that I listen to. So I'm really looking forward to having him on, and I think our listeners will benefit from his hindsight next week.
It's good to get that different perspective as well, because like I guess we play quite similar. Jack, you probably enter more than I do in terms of like entry fee wise, but we play quite similar in that we have a small pool. We tend to only put in like a set number of lineups that we've built, rather than having like multi entry lineups. So it's a good to kind of get that different perspective and see how different DFS players, like how they approach their lineup builds, and that goes for single entry plus multi entry as well. So it will be good to get that perspective, and having someone come on the show from Run Pure Sports is really good, because if you're not familiar with that site but you're a listener or viewer, that is one of the top DFS sites out there. It's a subscription based site. They're always on the leaderboards. You always see the logo everywhere. So we're bringing you this content free of charge. We are literally bringing you gold every week with the newsletter, guests on the show, first time ever, and a really good guest as well to have for the second major of the year.
Yep, no, you're right, Nick. And as you've mentioned, the newsletter that will be out tomorrow. I have my core up in it. All the good stuff, the tee times, the weather, the course preview, little recap of last week and things like that. All the good stuff. Unfortunately, no Mark's cut makers this week, but he's obviously busy with work. As we've mentioned, we do this for free. We don't get paid for it, unfortunately. But all the stuff that you need will be in there. And if you want to use my core, you're more than welcome to. I'll be using it, so you're more than welcome to use it and tag along for the ride. It's been good. It's been a good season. We've had a very, very profitable year. Me and Mark were talking about it the other day. So it's been very good, and we're glad that we can bring that to you for free.
Yeah, there's been very, very few weeks thus far that I can remember where any of us really have had like a flunk lineup. Most weeks it's been minimum 5 through the cut line, and a lot of the time 6. We've been right in it, so it's been a good year for us so far. And like you said, we don't get paid. We do this because we love the sport. We love coming on and talking about it. And if it means dedicating a little bit of time to that every week, then that's why we're here. But you should absolutely be subscribing to that newsletter. If I knew that Mark wasn't doing the cut makers this week, I'd have got onto ChatGPT and got it to write us a little cut makers segment and see who we ended up with.
Would have given us Bryson
DeChambeau, Daniel Berger. It would have probably thrown out a few guys.
I mean, I'll see what I can do. You might get a Jack cut maker in there tomorrow. I don't know. I'll see what I can do. It's a chore at times writing it. I love it, but it's not something that takes 5 minutes to write. So I put all the good information in there for people to find and use. So which is why it comes out on Wednesday. So you have the most up-to-date information that you can have.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing more that can be said other than that, Jack. It's been a pleasure as always. And for the listeners and viewers, we will see you next Tuesday.
Au revoir.